Biggie Smalls' estate has released a music license NFT on OneOf attached to the late rapper's freestyles. So each of the PFP NFTs, the collection's called Sky's the Limit, allows the holder voting rights over distribution of previously unlicensed music. A press release says that artists will be able to sample the freestyle in their own music with the approval and oversight from the estate. So, I mean, I think this is really interesting. We can come back to me because I just don't want to blab on at the beginning of this segment. Adam, I'm going to kick it off to you first. What do you think of this? Licensing is becoming a real narrative when we chat about NFTs.
No, I love it. I think that, again, like this is a really, really good example of a tokenization use case. It is taking something that right now is not available in any way, shape, or form. It's taking it and making it so that it's using basically the blockchain, not necessarily as a copyright solution, but as a licensing solution where by nature of having the token, you gain certain rights and the ability to use certain elements that, again, were not previously available. I think, again, if you look at like how, sampling works in the traditional music industry, it's kind of a mess. And you could really solve a lot of problems by having a system that's more sort of native to the internet and transparent in this way without needing to have such in-depth sort of agreements on a case-by-case basis, which is really kind of what happens today. So I like to see this type of move. I think it's a great, great brand. Biggie Smalls, obviously, fantastic brand, a lot of legacy behind it, and a great one to be first mover on these types of things. Really, I hope that it goes well for them, and I hope that it's something that picks up because it's a meaningful use case that could become a very big deal, not just for the crypto industry, but for the music industry as a whole. Will, down to you.
Yeah, interesting project. I mean, I've always said on the show that I don't like NFTs, but if you're going to like NFTs, you gotta like the sports ones, and I think the music ones also fit into that. I've definitely softened my stance on NFTs in general, by the way. Like, much more of a fan of them than I used to be. Jen has been working really hard to get that changed. But with the music NFTs, it makes sense because you get some sort of licensing around it, you get some sort of ownership for additional products, and it makes sense if you think of like vinyls, right? There's a huge collection, or there's a huge fan base for vinyls, even though no one uses them anymore. No one listens to records, but you can still buy these vinyls when they come out from a new band. They'll put out like their iTunes album, they'll put out stuff on Spotify, and then they'll also like ship you memorabilia and like the vinyl itself and other things like that. And I think an NFT makes sense in that package. Like, I own this NFT, it corresponds to like some physical products I also own. And in this case, it seems like you get some additional things around this project as well. So I guess more of the same, but it makes sense. And I expect to see this going to bear market. And then maybe on the flip side, in a few years, if we go back into a bull market, this stuff being really big deal for everyone. Jen, to you.
Yeah, I really see this as like technology enhancing the industry, right? I spent a lot of my career interviewing musicians, and it is surprising how much music is made and then just sits in basements and vaults and studios and never sees the light of day because the music industry is so messy. The licensing, the royalties, they a lot of time take a really long time to get figured out, and especially when artists pass, they just never get figured out, and they sit and they're never heard. I think this particular use case shows how estates can now look at music that's not been release it to a whole new genre of musicians, ensure they're getting their royalty, and contribute back into the culture. And so I think it's really cool. That's my optimistic take. Sandali.
No, totally. I mean, I keep like ranting about how this is like the beginning and NFTs are going to be, so many cool different things. So this is great to see. And even with the Miami story, there is opportunity for it to become something interesting. But here, I just wanted to also point out that the NFTs will give holders access to the Brook Metaverse, which is another venture from the estate. And what it does, it's a gamified virtual experience that takes you back in time to the streets of 90s Brooklyn and straight into the world of one of the greatest MCs of all time, the notorious B.I.G. And heck, I want to visit. Like, I want to go there, and it's so cool. And it just shows that.
Brooklyn in the 90s was pretty rough.
I want to go to the 90s.
There's a reason he came out of that, and that's
not in the Metaverse.
Disneyland version.
Hey, not in the Metaverse.
This is the Metaverse version.
No risk. Yeah, I
Yeah, you
mean,
can't get shot in
I
a
might die,
metaverse
but who
version. I
cares?
don't know if I'd want to
I was
visit.
just- I want to
Yeah,
visit.
You know,
I feel like it'll be a cool cultural experience. Anyway.
Suddenly, when I read that part of the story, it reminded me of what Google Maps and Google Earth is doing and was doing around cultural hubs. When I was living in South Africa, Google went down to Robben Island, where Nelson Mandela went to prison, and they mapped the entire island, interviewed prisoners, ex-prisoners who still live on the island, interviewed historians, and created this online hub of information and education for people who couldn't go there and learn from these people. And this is like a heightened version of that for me. I think it's so cool, and I think that that's going to be the way we learn about history in the future. I don't know, Will, as our resident historian, if that's a way that you would like to learn in the future.
Oh, nice transition. Roll the tape.
I know,
Roll
right?
the tape.
And now, Will's History Corner with Will Foxley.
Classic.
That's fantastic. I don't know if I have anything else for you, though. I mean, I think you guys are spot wrong. I would not want to visit 1990s Brooklyn. I mean, that's the interesting thing about the Notorious B.I.G. is like he came out of that environment to become like such a successful person and a household name. So that's what makes him very cool. So like, I guess that would be my one thought for you, Jen. Go read some rap history. I wish Zach was here. He would definitely support me on this
Drop some
one. But I got
bars.
Adam supporting me, so it's okay. It's
You
a very
know,
cool story.
I love these metaverses that are doing something like this, right? Like, I think one of the coolest things that's happened over the last 10 years is the popularization and incredible quality gains that we've seen in off-the-rack game rendering engines. Like, I understand that that sounds totally wonky, but basically what it means is that it used to be that you used to have a significant amount of money up front to build something that, you know, was of a decent quality, because you not only had to build the content, but you had to kind of build the structure, or you had to license it, and it tend to be quite expensive. That's not the case any longer with the current versions of Unity that are out there and Unreal Engine 5 also. It has become incredibly affordable to have almost top quality when it comes to these types of worlds. So you can devote almost all of your funds to the actual creation of the content rather than the structure or the architecture that's sort of going to deliver it to your users. So I think that that's what this says to me. That's what the sort of all of these metaverses, again, like, there's going to be a lot of losers in this, but there will be some winners, and those winners that emerge will in all likelihood be ones that wouldn't have won had they had to build all of that technology for themselves. So again, it's just another example of how, as you build these enabling technologies, people then build on top of them, build on top of them, build on top of them, and you eventually get to a place where it's actually really, really empowering for all sorts of people who would not have been empowered had these things not happened. So I'm excited to see how that goes. I think the points about the 1990s in Brooklyn are probably reasonable, but as someone who's only been to New York once, I can't make much of a comment. And Will, I got to say, there are plenty of hipsters out there who listen to records, just so you know.
Oh yeah, the people in
Well,
the comments are
I
coming
love
for
them.
you.
Yeah.
The
Thank
nerds
you.
are coming for me. I'm scared. The record nerds. It's okay.